We believe it started in the early days of the 12th century in the Occitan region, or roughly what we now know as the south of France, and then spread to Italy and Spain. Troubadours would travel the countryside performing poetry or music or juggling, apparently. The songs were largely humorous or vulgar satire, and as the word troubadour is related to troubar, which is probably an Arabic root meaning to compose, discuss, or to invent, but the word was used in a mocking sense, having more or less the meaning of somebody who makes things up. The troubadour style employs a rich vocabulary, using many words, rare words, invented words, and unusual, colorful words. So I submit that the troubadours of the time were basically akin to the comedians, singers, songwriters, and jazz musicians touring around plying their craft in the modern era, just as in the days of yore. It's interesting, and hopefully not prophetic, that the art of the troubadours declined in the 14th century and suddenly died out in 1348, right at the time of the deadliest pandemic in recorded history, the plague, or Black Death. We don't know much about how those early road warriors were treated or what they were paid for that matter, but in the modern world, we have known about touring bands and jazz musicians for centuries now. In fact, there was a time when touring musicians who, at the height of the big band era, for example, traveled on the road 52 weeks a year. Some of them never even kept a house or apartment. They lived in buses and hotel rooms all over the world. It was the early traveling musicians who bore the brunt of, shall we say, inadequate accommodations. This kind of experience gave rise to the contract writer. A writer is an addendum to a touring contract that spells out all the technical necessities for the show, the stage presence, the stage plot, how many microphones and chairs and everything to do with technical things, but it also has to do with accommodations in terms of hospitality, meals, backstage requirements. Some people are surprised at how detailed some of these requests get. Like, Maynard Ferguson had a very specific, I think it was a 2-inch thick ribeye steak and very specific accoutrement to his meal. Aretha Franklin required that there be a briefcase underneath the piano with $50K in it, cash, or she would not come on stage. Some of this is understandable. These people live on the road and they'd like to have their accommodations in comfort taken care of by the people that are employing them. Very understandable. And in the case of Aretha, I'm sure she went through many, many times that they just didn't pay her at the end of the thing. She wanted to be paid up front. There's no question about that. Of course, we've all heard the stories about the crazy requests of the rock and roll bands on their riders. Like Van Halen needed a large bowl of M&Ms with all the brown ones taken out. Sometimes there's kind of a logic to that, because if you walk into the dressing room and you see your M&Ms and there happens to be no brown ones in there, you know that they actually read the rider. So you can figure that all your technical issues and all the other accommodations, both on stage and in the dressing rooms and everywhere else, would have been taken care of. It was a good indication of that. However, in the case of Van Halen, they also listed 8-liter bottles of Jack Daniels, 8-liter bottles of brandy, 8-liter bottles of vodka, 16 cases of domestic beer, and a wide selection of continental cheeses. These boys knew how to party. But sometimes it was either a medical requirement or a joke. Who knows about this one? Well, Iggy Pop stipulated, "It is absolutely essential at the end of the show that there is a nurse in attendance with 2 cylinders of oxygen and masks." But sometimes it's a lesson in nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's a clause in Aerosmith's rider requesting cocaine that simply said, "No snow, no show." The British pop singer Howard Jones' backstage demands included, get this, 8 pounds of brown rice, 6 large aubergines, 6 pounds of courgettes, 3 green peppers, 1 head of garlic, 3 pounds of fresh tomatoes, 12 mixed yogurts, and 12 bananas. Was he shopping for the week or something? He also requested that security not have guns or dogs, and that the dressing room possess a sweet-smelling ambiance, which brings me to our guest this evening. Randy's possibly tongue-in-cheek rider that he put together after countless tours abroad and domestically has become legend in the jazz world. His stream of consciousness style diatribe describes almost everything that can go wrong on the road and many inconveniences and some downright annoyances. If you use the Google machine, just type in Randy Brecker's rider and you can read the whole thing there, but here are just some of the highlights. Hotel rooms. A large double room, large enough for me and my suitcase even when it's open. The room should be located on an upper quiet floor, neither too far from the elevator nor too close. I don't want to hear the ding every time the elevator stops. What can I tell you? I'm Jewish. Room service. The 24-hour room service menu must not have lasagna verde in any way, shape, or form on it. Hotel bathrooms. No separate faucet in the sinks, which legitimately should be labeled scalding and freezing. How do you wash your hands in those anyway? Move them back and forth really fast? And what exactly is with that ledge inside the toilet bowl? I want to hear a plop when I use that thing. And no sandpaper masquerading as toilet paper. There's a few paragraphs about ordering a bus and getting a minivan instead for a quintet traveling with a double bass, instruments, and luggage. Maybe we can eliminate the scenario where I'm standing freezing on the side of the road and you are futilely and furtively trying to squash the bass case and my suitcase to fit in the back of the too small van. Hey, we got luggage, remember? In America, we change our clothes every day. Can you believe it? Backstage requirements. Ice in my Coke, please. That is what happens to water under 32 degrees. Please try to avoid having the whole audience come backstage for autographs after the concert, especially when they haven't applauded during the concert. Of course, I'm sure Randy never had that problem of an audience not applauding. From an early age, he was noted as a truly gifted and exciting player. As a trumpeter and composer, Randy has helped shape the sound of jazz, R&B, and rock for more than 4 decades. He was actually the original trumpet player for Blood, Sweat, and Tears before turning it over to his friend, the late, great Lou Soloff. Randy's trumpet and flugelhorn performances have graced hundreds of albums by a wide range of artists, from James Taylor, Bruce Springsteen, Parliament Funkadelic, to Frank Sinatra, Steely Dan, Jaco Pastorius, and Frank Zappa. He, along with his brother Michael, formed a band of immeasurable impact and influence. With worldwide recognition as the Brecker Brothers, they released 6 albums on Arista Records and garnered 7 Grammy nominations in just 6 years. Their eponymous first record, which Randy wrote, arranged, and produced, featured his now classic composition, Some Skunk Funk. After branching out again as a solo artist, Randy has recorded hundreds of albums and has appeared all over the world in practically every festival, club, and concert hall in existence, and mostly to sell out crowds. In the past, there were a few reunited Brecker brother appearances at major festivals until tragically in 2007 Michael passed away from a rare form of leukemia known as MDS. In 2013, Randy released a dual-disc DVD, live, and studio recording dedicated to his brother. Randy Brecker Brother Band Reunion with Randy's wife, Italian jazz musician Ada Ravati, in the hot saxophone seat. I have had the pleasure and the good fortune to conduct 2 or 3 concerts with Randy at various venues, including for the BBC in London and one with Jazz Orchestra Atlanta. As a composer, performer, and in-demand Yamaha clinician, Randy Brecker continues to influence and inspire young musicians around the world. And so, I'm pleased to announce, on April 30th, 2024, celebrating International Jazz Day, we will be presenting a Jazz Arts Hero Award to Randy Brecker for his artistry and his outstanding achievement in the industry. For more information, visit jazzartsproject.org.